Hi everybody, thank you very much for coming and stopping by. Today we are going to be covering off the fourth part of my 5-part DED series. In this video I will be covering off the Sansha space NPCs, so this specifically is going into Amarr space and covering off the 4 of 10s, 5 of 10s, Watch and Vigils, along with some of the unrateds, I believe. So hopefully the video is helpful, hopefully you enjoy this. For the video I will be using the DEDMAC or VEDMAC, depending on which iteration of that ship you understand. An overview of that ship is available just there, so click that if you need more information. Other than that, if the video is helpful, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, and if you aren't already, don't forget to subscribe. Other than that, if you've got any more questions, feel free to pop them in the comments and I will do my best to answer them as soon as I possibly can. So, with that in mind, let's get into the video. Yay! So, we're working on the Sansha side of Amarr space in this video. Now, trying to identify the systems between Sansha and Blood can be quite problematic. The EVE in-game map isn't really very good for this, so one resource I would highly recommend, specifically for when you're running Amarr space, is to use a site called .lan. Now this has a function built into it where you can actually identify regions of space based on the NPCs that occupy them. So for instance, you can search for Amarr space on .lan. Links for this will be in the description, by the way. You can search for a specific region and then break it down into the factions that occupy the space. So you would break it down into Amarr, and then you would break it down into Sansha. That will help you identify which systems are Sansha and which systems are Blood. So, handy little tip there that not everyone is aware of, and like I said, the in-game map for EVE is nice, it's lacking some features, and that is one of them in particular. It is available there, it's just not very easy to find, and they're still not very easy to identify. So, yeah, hopefully that little tiny tip there helps, but we'll get jumping into this now. So we're going to run the 3 of 10, the 4 of 10, a Lookout and a Watch again this time. Unfortunately, again, just due to the limitations of the winter event, which you'll notice I'm still in here. I wasn't unfortunately able to find a vigil for you, but again, if you've got any questions on that, feel free to pop them in the comments and I'll be more than happy to help. But the vigils, again, are fairly straightforward, and all of that information on how to run those is available on the EVE Uni website. So we'll go ahead and we'll jump into the 3 of 10 first, and I will be with you in just a moment. Okay, so activating the first room in the 3 of 10, you're going to find a number of NPCs in here. Now I'm going to give you a fairly broad warning here. If you are using guns, you are going to have some slight issues with the fact that the NPCs here do track and disrupt, and it is range track and disrupting. Now, if you're using the Hecate, or you're using the Vexor, then it's not so much of an issue because you can just switch between sharpshooter and propulsion, and that will it'll essentially reset that. If you're using the Vexor, you've obviously got the drone application. With the VEDMAC, it is slightly more frustrating, mainly just because of the issues around the fact that the guns won't engage once they're reduced past a certain point. They have to be within range for the gun to activate. So once you get into the first room, you're going to want to be looking for the Black Ops Commander. It will be a frigate, and the main reason that we're looking for the Black Ops Commander in here is because he has a chance to have some faction items in him. It's not a guaranteed drop, but at the end of the day, if there's a potential for there to be something good in there, it's always worth taking. So once you killed the Black Ops Commander, make sure you lock him, loot him, and grab the stuff that's in there. Everything else that's in the room, as long as it's not a turret, go ahead and wipe that. You don't need them. If there are turrets in there, as I've mentioned in the other videos in this series so far, you don't need to worry about aggressing the turrets or killing those. They're not an objective in order for you to activate a Stargate. In order for you to activate an acceleration gate. They are simply there just to shoot you. So don't necessarily worry about them unless the damage that you're taking from them is too great and you need to basically mitigate some of that. If that's not an issue for you, then don't necessarily worry about them. Just essentially ignore them and move on to the to the actual NPCs themselves and try and get rid of those as quickly as you can. So I'll leave you with the fast forward for this, and I will see you in room 2. Okay, so as you can see here, I've completed this room. We're now going to move on to the second room, and we're going to get those cleared out and basically push everything. So you can see there the Black Ops commander that I mentioned about looting had Overseer's effects and a command relay key, which is actually used to access a different site elsewhere, so you can just bypass the gate without having to worry about activating it. But that's for a 5 of 10, so I wouldn't necessarily worry about that itself. Once you're in here, essentially the main thing you're looking for is, again, a Black Ops commander. Kill him, loot him, and leave. You don't have to worry about killing anything else that's in here unless it's causing you a significant issue, and this would be, again, referring to the track and disrupting issues. If you're getting track and disrupted, then you may have to mitigate some of those just in order to kind of get over that range issue. But loading a long-range tracking script and long-range ammo tends to give you about 46-kilometer range, and then it doesn't tend to be an issue. So you can see here I already had him killed before they actually had me locked, so there wasn't really any issues there. So yeah, that's it for the 3 of 10. So we will go ahead and wait for the loot to come in, and then we'll jump over to the 4 of 10. Okay, right. See you in the 4 of 10. You can actually see here, sorry, just really quick. So we actually got quite a substantial amount of money from this. So we pulled almost 170 mil just from this one. From this 3 of 10, so they are very, very good value for money. It's just worth noting. But yeah, okay, on to the 4 of 10. Okay, so we're on to the 4 of 10. This one is fairly straightforward. Essentially, first room is going to have a lot of stuff in it. You want to kill everything in this room, just so that you can obviously open the gate and make your way into the second one. Now, when you do get into here, I would say your priority targets need to be for this one is the savages and the slave hunters. Now, the main reason for this is they are really, really annoying when it comes to the tracking disruptions. You'll see here, I actually end up getting tracking disrupted by 9 separate NPCs that take my total gun range down to, I believe it was about 13 kilometers. So I had to switch out for long range tracking, long range ammo, just in order to get them. If you're using the Heck 8, obviously burning towards these, getting rid of them as quickly as you can will be a really good idea. If you're in the Vexor, using the drones to kind of get rid of those, really good idea. But make sure you're prioritizing those. Really, one thing I did notice while I was doing these, and it was something that I've picked up, is that they will actually stop tracking disrupting you after maybe 1 or 2 cycles. So if you are patient, you can just wait them out. But if the site is being contested, it's maybe worth just doing that. Or worst case scenario, bookmark the site. If it's being contested, bookmark the site, warp out, count to 10, and then warp back in. The main reason for this is now all the tracking disrupting is being focused on whoever it is that was contesting the site. They're not going to be able to clear it in the 15 to 20 seconds that you're going to be out of the site for. So it means that you're forcing them to have to deal with the stuff that's really frustrating, and you can get rid of the other stuff and then focus on being on top of the gate, because they're going to have to get close in order to engage, or they're going to have to apply drones and wait for them to return. So really good top tip there is if it is being contested, use it to your advantage. If it's not being contested, then prioritize the savages and the slave hunters. They're frigates, and then work your way down the list with the remaining frigates and cruisers, and you'll be good to go. So I'll leave you with a fast forward again, and I will see you in room 2. Okay. Okay, so now we're heading into room 2. This room is fairly simple. On the right-hand side, you will see a true Sansha foreman. He is your target. You essentially just want to kill him as quickly as you can. Now, be aware, as soon as you aggress him, you will get sensor dampened. Target disrupted. And this will essentially make your guns useless to begin with. They can be quite aggressive with these again, so if you are getting tracking disrupted too much, then obviously prioritize those that are tracking disrupting you. However, again, bear in mind that they will only be tracking disrupting you for a brief moment of time, so you're probably looking at around sort of 2, maybe 3 cycles. Once they finished, I essentially in this instance, I actually burn straight towards him, which is what my general approach with the Amarr space is I burn towards whatever it is that I need to kill, and I'll be looking for something nearby that I can align to, just in case. It very rarely ends up being an issue, but just in case, this way I can grab the loot and leave at the same time. So in this instance, you'll see I switch out to short range ammo because I'm actually under 10 kilometers, and then I'm actually going to slow down as well. So my afterburner gets turned off, and then I proceed to engage and destroy him. That sounded very Terminator. I will engage and destroy you. But yeah, essentially, you can see now I'm completely clear of tracking disruptors. It does, like I said, it doesn't last very long, the amount of damage that they do. The amount of tracking disruption that they do. But it can be quite frustrating to begin with. So if it is becoming an issue, then either A, keep your range until you're free of the tracking disruption, or if you've got drone support, use that to kind of aid you in getting the loot. But you'll see here, we get this nice and easy, and as you can see, obviously the Vedmak is holding up perfectly well. No issues there at all. There haven't actually been any sites that I have managed to run where it has come close to even remotely being close to breaking it. There have been a couple of times where pilot error has meant that sites have taken longer than they should have done, and I've actually done that, and I've left that in here because at the end of the day, even I make errors. So, and I think that's important to know. But you can see here we got a true Sansha cap power relay, and yeah, we're on to the next one, which, if I remember correctly, would be the lookout. So I'll see you when we land at the lookout. Okay, so landing in the lookout. So it's very, very simple here. It's not overly complex, this one. Essentially, when you land into the first room, you want to eliminate everything. Now, it will be split up into 3 groups again. So you'll have a group down towards the bottom, one over surrounded by a turret, and then some over by the acceleration gate. What I do here, and you'll see it here, is locking up one of each of the group and then engaging each of them will force them to aggress and force them to pull into you. Don't worry about shooting the sentry gun that's there. It's not an issue unless you're taking too much damage and you need to kind of remove that. I believe it is firing an EM light missile. So if you have got a hole in EM, maybe worth taking that out just so that you can avoid kind of taking that hit. But other than that, essentially just purge everything that's in this room and make your way to the acceleration gate and on into the second room. Here we go. Okay, so heading into the second room, really simple this one, and I actually make a mistake here, so don't use my example here to go by. Now you'll see actually I'm looking at the two that I need to kill, which is the cruiser and the control center. Those are the only two NPCs in here that you actually need to kill. Now, for whatever reason, I'm not entirely sure. I may have had a lapse in judgment. I may have been talking to someone on Discord at the time, but ultimately I ended up getting distracted, and rather than just going in and killing the two things that I needed to, I actually ended up wiping everything in the room. Don't ask. I'll be honest with you, I genuinely don't know how it came about. I just for some reason ended up killing everything in the room. Now, obviously you'll see here at the end, when I do actually prioritize the cruiser as I'm supposed to, we do actually force the faction spawn. We get that come through. We also, I believe, get an escalation. You'll have to bear with me on that one. I'm not 100% certain, but I believe we actually got the escalation as well. But yeah, for some reason I decided not to prioritize the two main things that I needed. So I'm going to put that one down to pilot error 100%. So yeah, with the second room in the lookout, you are simply just needing to kill the cruiser and the control center. That is it. You don't need to worry about anything else that's in there. Okay. Cool. Well, I will leave this though, because obviously we do get the faction spawn at the end, and I believe there's some decent loot in it as well. So I will leave that, and I'll come back to you when we get to the stage of looting. Okay. And there we go. So, on to the Sansha Watch. Okay, so first room of the Sansha Watch. This is very, very simple. Essentially, as soon as you land into the Sansha Watch, you are going to approach the acceleration gate. Ignore everything else that's in there. Don't worry about it shooting at you. It's not going to make a difference. Simply approach the acceleration gate. This is going to force an NPC to spawn, and you're going to be looking for the Centus Slave Commander. He's going to spawn when you rotate the camera. There's actually a what looks like an asteroid collection up to the top right. Now, essentially, you want to. That's where he's going to spawn. So as soon as you get in range, you're actually going to see me zoom out here. And you'll see, there he is. Sorry, so the top left, apologies. So essentially, as soon as you're in range of the gate, just turn and head straight towards him. Again, you are going to get quite heavily tracking disrupted here. But again, it's only going to last for maybe 1 to 2 cycles, so it's a matter of seconds. It's not a permanent thing, and it's not like you're kept permanently jammed out of the fight for the entire scenario. So as soon as he dies, the gate will become active. You can essentially go straight through, ignoring everything else that's in the first room. If you're trying to slow people down that are coming into the site, one very sneaky trick that I like to do: pop the commander wreck. If there's no evidence that he's actually spawned, as far as they're concerned, you're he's potentially still there, and they'll sit there and waste time shooting that while you're essentially in the second room just clearing stuff. So bit of a underhanded tactic, but potentially a great way of at least giving you some breathing space if someone else does try to contest the site. So yeah, we're going to approach the gate now that he's dead, and you'll notice that the gate is now active, and we don't have to worry about everything else that's in here. And that's it. That's it for the first room of the watch. Okay, so as we approach the gate for this one, I'm just going to give you a bit of a heads up. Now, when you actually land in this room initially, there is a chance of there being a faction NPC there straight off the bat. So I believe he will be spawning with the initial wave, yeah, he tends to be just above this asteroid complex that you've got in the middle. This very large looking asteroid in the very back. He will spawn there if he's going to be there. If he's not there, don't worry, that's fine. Essentially head straight forward, and you want to be looking for the mind control tower. It's this very large looking pointy thing in the very center of the second room. Shoot this and it will force the commander to spawn. He's the center militant supervisor. By destroying him, you have a chance of forcing an escalation. So you've got an initial chance of having a faction NPC there straight off the bat, and then with the second phase, you've obviously got the militant commander that you can destroy for extra for an extra chance at an escalation. Killing him won't trigger a faction spawn, despite again what it says on Eve Uni. That bit is incorrect. If there is going to be a faction spawn there, it will only be when you warp in initially. So just bear that in mind. Obviously, again, with this one, I did become tracking disrupted, and so my guns ended up losing range at least twice, which was slightly frustrating. So I'm using warp 2s as a lines. So, like for instance, you saw I selected a Stargate first. Now I've selected a station. And it's just so I'm aligned out in the event that something was to happen. It's unlikely to, but I always think it's better to be prepared and then have that fallback rather than not, and then all of a sudden it will go disastrously wrong. Ideally, what I should have done in this scenario is actually launch my drone, so I'm not even doing this as efficiently as I should be, which was my own mistake. But yeah, he does eventually die. But you can see obviously he's actually repairing quite aggressively, which is really annoying actually. But once he goes down, and I believe again we get another escalation from this one, which is quite nice. And yeah, that's pretty much the Sansha Watch, and that's it. That is Amarr space. From the Sansha side, done and dusted. So hopefully that was helpful. Yeah, that is Amarr Sansha space. Don't forget, if you need the .land link for the to identify which regions of Amarr space belong to Sansha. Links for the .land will be in the description below, so make sure you check that out. It's a really handy resource to have. Okay, on to the next bit.
Hopefully you've picked up some tips and tricks from that are going to help you along the way. If you have got any questions, feel free to pop them in the comments below and I will endeavor to answer them as soon as I can. Following this, there'll be some videos suggestions for you. Feel free to check those out. And other than that, if you're not already subscribed, hitting the subscribe button would be fantastic. Until then, have fun. Go forth and make money. And I will see you all on the next one. Bye for now.